how it is in God's kingdom. Jesus took a breath and continued. But those who find joy in their money will be distressed. Those who find solace in food will be troubled. Those who laugh off the troubles of the world will be moved to tears. And those who strive for narcissistic popularity will be lost. That's how it is in God's kingdom. As usual, the disciples didn't see it coming. As far as they were concerned, everything was awesome. I may have just watched some of the Lego movie the other week, and so that everything's awesome song was stuck in my head. But as far as the disciples were concerned, everything was awesome. Jesus was healing and curing this great multitude of people. The crowd had come from these 4 different areas, some Jewish, some foreign, and yet everybody who so much as touched Jesus' cloak was being healed. The disciples were quite pleased to be seen hanging out with the most popular, the most powerful man in the whole region. But power is fleeting, and popularity literally has the word pop in it. Popularity is a bubble, Jesus reminded them. Here today, gone tomorrow. By the time he was done talking to them, Jesus had popped 4 of the disciples' cherished bubbles. Money? Woe to those who think that it will bring them closer to God. It would be better to be poor and faithful than rich and distant. Food? Woe to those who cover their emotions and seek happiness in food. It would be better to be hungry and honest about what we are feeling. Entertainment? Woe to those who ignore the needs of the world and focus their lives only on laughter and celebration. It would be better to weep for others now and celebrate later. And popularity. In God's world, the outcast, the shunned, the weirdo, the kid who doesn't belong, the man who is wounded, they are blessed. Woe to those who are acclaimed, for they are like the false prophets of the Hebrew Scriptures, who were also quite popular before being torn down. Money, food, entertainment, popularity. Bubbles. Enjoyable. They bring beauty and laughter to the world, but they will pop. And if our lives are built around such things, and they are the primary focus of our life, well, it would have been better to be like the great multitude of people who had come to be healed by Jesus from Judea and Jerusalem, Tyre and Sidon. It would have been better to have come poor and hungry. It would have been better to have come weeping and shunned. Because the lasting blessings of life, promised by Jesus, come from how we stand with and stand by him. Jesus stood firmly on the plain and spoke plainly to the disciples. It's a little unusual, actually, to find Jesus speaking quite this bluntly in the New Testament. We usually find Jesus telling stories, parables, where the point might be a little bit unclear, and we're even a little unsure why he told us this story to begin with. Or we find Jesus acting in a setting which seems so foreign to our experience, that it's kind of hard to understand why he's doing what he's doing, or he's offering some metaphor about something of the Jewish Galilean culture, or about the Roman Empire itself. And it's all kind of lost on us sometimes, even though people then probably understood the metaphors and the oblique criticisms of Rome. That's how we usually hear Jesus, a little story or parable here, a little metaphor and aphorisms But no, not in this passage. Not in this passage. In this one, Jesus just tells it like it is. He doesn't offer any instructions. He doesn't say anything like, so therefore go and do like. There's none of that. There's no go and give or welcome others or comfort the weeping. No instructions, no directions. Just a statement of fact from Jesus to the disciples. If our lives are built around money, entertainment, food, popularity, then our lives are built on bubbles. All those things will bring joy and gains and fellowship to life, but they cannot be the focus. They will not last. They will all pop. Instead, stand on level ground. Speak plainly and love the Lord your God. Amen. I suspect most people of every age love bubbles. They are joyful and free. They are ethereal. Little rainbows sparkle and shimmer on them. And the gentlest of breezes send them free into the world. They may be a child's summertime activity, but I've seen lots of adults, lots of adults, myself included, who try really hard to blow them larger and larger and larger, or jump up and catch them, or just watch how far they'll go in the wind. The only catch, of course, is that when you try to catch them, what do? Pop. Usually, when we're chasing our bubbles, we find ourselves either watching as they helplessly float above our heads just out of reach, or they drift off just a little too fast before they land in the grass and pop. And the few that we can actually touch pop as soon as our fingers touch them. And even if we manage to catch one, have enough soap on our hands at this stage that we can hold one for a moment, we know that it's just a matter of time before it too will pop. Translucent and ethereal, and it's temporary. Of course, popping them is part of the joy as far as these bubbles are concerned. But we also find ourselves using bubbles in lots of modern-day aphorisms and metaphors, which aren't quite as fun. So we tell a friend, well, I'm sorry to have to pop your bubble, but that's not going to work. Or economists warn us of a housing bubble or a stock market bubble. Historians will remind us of a Dutch tulip bubble. And it's a little amusing to think of 17th century European markets for tulip bulbs getting so high and that people were in a frenzy to buy these bulbs, and it's a little kind of fun to think of that kind of bubble. But it's way less amusing when it's our own bubbles that end up popping. Julia and I suspect basically everyone here, were hurt when the housing market bubble popped. And our economy collapsed late in the second term of President Bush's administration. The Great Recession that followed the popping of that bubble wasn't the least bit amusing for us or for probably anyone here. A tulip bubble popping, that's kind of fun. Our own bubbles popping, that's not funny at all. That's a crisis. And likewise, when someone we trust comes to us and has to pop our individual bubble, and simply tell us, no, that's not going to happen. Nope, that's not going to work. No, that's not right. Well, part of the fun of real bubbles, again, is from popping them. But it's never fun to have our own personal ideas and beliefs or thoughts or dreams popped. Even if the one who does that popping is someone who we trust and believe in and witness to and follow. Perhaps the most telling part of today's gospel is that Jesus only speaks to his disciples. He's surrounded by this great crowd of people, all of whom have come to be healed and to seek his power and his presence. But he only speaks to those disciples who love him and trust him and believe in him and are following him. And it's only their bubble that he pops. Today's passage is known as Jesus' Sermon on the Plain. The Sermon on the Plain. This is a play on words, a little bit of creative wordplay by the theologians, because Jesus is both standing on level ground, he is on a plain, but also he is speaking plainly. This is what passes for humor in theological circles. Here, for the first time in Luke's gospel, Jesus is firmly planted to the ground. He's standing on level ground. He is not, for once, on a little boat rocking on the sea or on the side of a mountain. He is firmly planted in what he is going to say. And a crowd of wounded, troubled, diseased people from 4 different regions, Jews and foreigners alike, are trying to reach out and to touch him. Firmly planted, standing on that level ground, Jesus simply levels with the disciples. And he tells them, blessed are the poor are blessed, the hungry are filled, the tear-filled are moved to laughter, the excluded rejoice,